Welcome to the Coach's Corner podcast, a platform where we get together to share our experiences, industry insights, and create discussions that challenge our own biases and thought processes behind everything that we do. This podcast is brought to you by our partners, Iron Edge, who are industry leaders in high-performance strength training equipment in Australia. If you're after any strength training equipment and spot something of interest, I'll then connect with the team over at Iron Edge and I'll see if I can snag you a better deal. Now over to the podcast. Guys, welcome back to episode 10 of the Coach's Corner podcast. We've got our first roundtable episode today. We have a couple of our OG coaches. There'd be a couple hundred members that wouldn't even know who we're sitting here with today. So we're going to go through, we're going to introduce the coaches that brought Peak to life and pretty much the cornerstone of who we are today. We wouldn't be here without these four of us coaches, including myself. So I'll take us around the table. We've got Harrison Scott, Tom Hillman, and Isaiah Joseph. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to pass the mic around, get the boys to introduce who they are, when they sort of left Peak, how they sort of got there, and then where they are now. Harrison.
Great. Well, thanks for having me on. It was a super exciting time back when we were all working together, like a big transition for the business from what was effectively a personal training gym and studio to what it is now, with a real focus on that sort of athletic development, but still servicing, the general population clientele as well. So it was really fun. What am I doing now? I've sort of, changed paths a little bit, changed tack. So I'm working at the Western Bulldogs, but in the sort of more business side of things. So looking after their education programs, new business. Clubs are always looking for new ways to bring in different revenue that's not tied to football. Obviously, football performance goes up and down, but if you can have something that's a little bit more stable in the background, it goes a long way. Obviously, with my background, we've really focused in on the education in and around performance, strength and conditioning, rehab, and so utilising the talent that we have available to us at the club and sort of spreading that expertise. It's a good role.
Yeah, awesome. I will touch on just quickly before we dive into the other boys and sort of a bit more into that role, bringing up the old PT model that we used to have, just thinking on the spot here was significant. I remember you done the Athletes Authority Immersion program. Yep. Then I went up to go and do it. And I remember we had a chat. It was myself, Izzy, and yourself. And you two were really pushing moving away from the personal training model and moving to more that semi-private athletic development. And just looking back now, probably really significant in terms of that conversation and then taking that pathway down that route. So I probably haven't even said thank you yet.
No, I need to.
Izzy.
Yeah, just touching on that, I remember Mitch fucking shitting himself and we brought up that conversation. He's like, nah, PT's doing well, we're staying that way.
I was doing like $4,000 a PT a week.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't want to shit. Why would I change it? But yeah, obviously it was a big turning point for the business, like long term. So, but yeah, I left Peak about 6 months ago and then I've started my own business, just working mainly mid to late stage sort of rehab sort of stuff. Also just finished my first season with the Melbourne Vixens Reserves, up in the city there working with the girls and also just doing some home visits as well. Doing EP stuff.
And talk us through, obviously, there's probably an even bigger milestone that sort of has come to fruition over the last 6 months. Do you want to talk us through fatherhood?
Yeah. Became a dad. Been a dad for coming up to 3 months now. And yeah, loving it.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. We'll touch on that a little bit more shortly. Tom?
Yeah, so I mean, speaking of that old PT model, I was actually a client there originally. Like I just moved down to Frankston and I was just having a look around what kind of gyms are in the area. I was actually following Izzy on Instagram for a while. Shout out to Cultivate Performance. Streets I'll never forget.
That got some friction because Eve was on that, Tom was on that.
Yeah, the OGs remember. So I was following Izzy for a while, saw that he obviously worked down at Peak at the time. So I was just doing PT with Izzy for about 6 months. And then it was just before the restructure going into that semi-private open floor model. So I was basically just hired off the gym floor. Like I was chatting to Izzy, like, are you guys, any point getting some jobs going? I was working at full speed at the time.
We took absolutely anyone at that point.
I know, it was a grim state of affairs if I was getting hired off the gym floor. But stepped into that model, obviously in and around COVID, so it was a bit of a weird time, but it was honestly perfect timing for me because I was only working about 10 hours a week at full speed and working a couple other things here and there. And then just to be able to step into such a team that we ended up building, it was a privilege. So since then, moved on to a full-time role at Full Speed with essentially a sports rehab, athlete development, semi-private type facility similar to Peak. Been there for 7 odd years now, so learned heaps from you boys.
Good. And I think like part of the reason why I wanted to get us together, first of all, I love it when we all get together. I think we had lunch probably similar time last year down at Common Folk there. But the reason I wanted to get us all on was it seems to be a bit of a trend what's happening at the moment with it becoming, I mean, it's a interesting feeling. Like we create some sort of dynamic and then people naturally just evolve into bigger, greater things, whatever that looks like. And I think we've all gone into something different. Well, you guys have all gone into something different. Tom, you've obviously gone and remained in the private sector, probably most similar to me. Izzy, you've moved obviously into fatherhood. I know Jess was living on the other side of the city and it made sense that you guys sort of moved in sort of I guess mutually closer together, and then obviously scratching the itch with the business side of things. And Harrison, you're in corporate/pro sport. So I just wanted to dive in a little bit more about what the day-to-day sort of roles now look like for you guys. Tom, we'll start with you because it'll probably be most similar to me, and we'll work our way back around.
Yeah, probably most similar. So I'm still managing essentially that open floor semi-private system. So we've got a blend of rehab, particularly a lot of ACL rehab down at Full Speed, as well as your athlete development side. So I'm the head of performance. So basically overseeing any of those gym floor operations, as well as kind of back end in terms of admin, sales, that kind of thing, bit of business development as well. But essentially, I'm on floor. We've got busy gym environments. I'm managing members. I'm making sure everything's going smoothly, as well as overseeing staff and physios, making sure things like our rehab timelines are staying on point and just kind of overseeing the system. So pretty smooth transition from working in that busy peak environment in a team and kind of taking some of the the leadership qualities that I saw from you guys and be able to pick up some of your expertise and apply that to Full Speed. It's helped in massive ways.
I think while we're on the topic, give us a dollar figure to get you back.
Name your price.
Do you find the two?
I love my job. I'm not going anywhere. Sorry, Ethan. He's stressing listening to this.
Hey, you've made a good start. Well, hopefully this podcast ends this time. Tell us a little bit more about similarities. I mean, when you sort of left Peak last time, it will be worlds different apart to what it is now. But from the outside looking in, it looks relatively similar. Talk us through a little bit more about where Full Speed is going. I think you guys, speaking to you sort of personally, there's been an incredible amount of development there in that area, which is absolutely fantastic. Talk us through all good things that are happening and where you guys going.
Yeah, 100%. I think when we started, we were definitely a lot more focused on the athlete development. I think that sports rehab side was a little extra, but for the most part, we were probably working more healthy pop, whereas we're definitely leaning more into that rehab space. Like our private physio bookings are filling out more and more as we go forward, really leaning into like long-term ACL rehab memberships and whatnot. I think the next step for us is starting to, whether it's expanding into clinics across other locations, particularly from a rehab standpoint, but more so at Mitcham, building maybe like larger recovery spaces to facilitate rehab, and kind of fleshing out what we've got inside the facility to really deliver the best product. But we are really enjoying and sticking to that semi-private model. I think it works really well for us, particularly from a rehab standpoint. So big things to come.
Fuck, have a listen to the man talk. Snap that and put it on the website, I reckon. I think what's really beneficial, I mean, speak to your own environment, but for us, like the pathway from the rehab to the athletic development, like that crossover and that natural progression has been huge for us. Would you say it's similar for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Izzy, moving on, I'm probably, most interested to hear what's new in your world. Obviously, it took a huge leap, obviously solidified a significant role with us at Peak. And then obviously we had a chat about you wanting to build something for yourself. Obviously probably learned a lot off me and how we built things over the years. And then I've looked to implement those systems and put your own twist on it over time. I want to hear about how's it all going?
Yeah, so first of all, touching on like what you said, like learning from obviously working with you for over 6 years. I think the biggest sort of takeaway I've had, even when I've just reflected on like obviously I had a lot of growth at Peak, and jumping out on my own is just like the relentless nature of you to improve your systems and improve the business. Like I've been around other businesses and seen how other people operate, and people get to a certain point and they get sort of comfortable. And that's probably the biggest learning that I've taken away from Peak. And going into my own business is you can't sort of rest on your morals and where you are. You need to like keep pushing to take the business to the next level, where it's a better system or better client care or whatever. So yeah, jumping out into my own business was a big leap at the time. Obviously, I had a baby on the way at that time as well, knowing that Jess would be out of work for a significant time as well. But I just backed myself.
Like now or never.
Yeah, now or never. I felt that pressure would push me to make it happen. And it's just funny how things turn out when you do back yourself. Like I remember I was leaving Peak. I had that conversation with you, and then I think it was honestly the next day, like someone from the Vixens reached out and offered me that opportunity. And
While I was crying.
Yeah, maybe. But no, you supported me. Obviously, it was a big thing at the time, and you probably didn't expect it. But the support from you and everyone else in that environment helped me take that next step out, because it was scary at the time. But I'm super glad I did. And then opportunities just came, and then the business is slowly building now. Obviously, with the busyness of having Zeke around as well, and being there and trying to be as present as I can at home and juggling a business thing, which again, I saw you do and did it very well. So it was something that I wanted to do myself. I didn't want to just go all in on the business stuff. I want to be as present as I can at home as well, which is always a balancing act, but something that like I'm enjoying a lot. So
it's something that you know, we spoke of it quite a bit, and you don't really know until you're in it. And you can come up with your pre-assumptions of how life might look like, and people might only see the shiny objects or whatever it is, but being in the chaos is incredibly difficult, an incredible different and difficult adaptation to come over. It sounds like you're doing really well. Where's the business at the moment? And obviously you're working in a separate facility, so it's not similar to us how it's sort of all encompassing. It's kind of the facility and then you from the outside looking in. Obviously got the TV upstairs with the sauna and the soccer on. I saw. Talk us through that, more or less from a day-to-day perspective. What's sort of happening?
Yeah, so at the moment, in terms of how the business is run, it's just myself. I'm just running appointment-based stuff, working with people from early to sort of late stage. A lot of knees, a few ACLs, a few hamstring sort of injuries. And yeah, just helping people get back to sport, as well as I said, going and working a couple of days while I'm building up the business to do some face-to-face sort of community work with EP stuff, and as well as the season's just finished with the Vixens as well, which was just part-time work.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where obviously, it was unexpected when you brought me upstairs that day, and I knew right away. And it's, I was like, oh, fuck. I'm already texting Eva as I'm walking up the stairs behind you. But it's an interesting, conflicting feeling where you never want to lose great people to whatever direction they're going. But I think from our point of view, I've sort of learnt, and I was sort of forced to learn that if you're not pushing people to do different things or giving them the confidence to be able to take the next steps, then that's only a testament to what we have created. So I definitely have spent some time to reflect on that feeling, and it's been interesting to deal with. And I think just more or less coming to the terms with that's going to be the natural evolution, I hope. And I'm loving watching you succeed from afar, and baby number 2, hopefully not too far away. Harrison, so a little bit different altogether. Obviously, us three, we are still right in the S&C athlete development, injury rehab space. You are but aren't, have gone to more into the corporate world at the Western Bulldogs. So talk us a little bit more about your role from a day-to-day perspective as well, and what that brings you.
Yeah, sure. So definitely still adjacent, I suppose, and like whether that be the programs that we're running have focus in on athlete development, rehab, etc. I'm still doing some private coaching and working in the local footy club just to sort of scratch that itch, which is good fun. Before I sort of dive into it all, I liked some of your answers, and I'm keen to get your thoughts on a couple of things. That sort of, and something that I battle with all the time is like that balance between ambition and always wanting to progress and achieve more, and then also understanding like what have you done and appreciating that. Where have you guys sort of come to with that, and how do you find the balance?
Well, this probably stems on from our conversation when I caught up with you at the footy. We were talking about, scratching the itch and having that creative pursuit. Obviously, you've been around a lot of it. So I think it's all I've ever known. So like I've never had a job where I worked under someone else, or I guess my story was so unorthodox, but I was just always of the conclusion of the thought that I'm just not even going to give it the chance to not work. And I think something I spoke to Izzy quite a lot of was, or I think what he sort of would have got from us is, what's the worst thing that can happen? Worst thing that happens is he comes back, it'll happen. The worst thing that could ever happen is that he moves back home, or I move back home, or he goes back to a different setting, or whatever that might be. But really calculating what is the actual worst thing that can happen, it's probably not as big of a deal as what you think. I'm not sure, Izzy, if you had anything further to add on to that.
Nah, I think it sums it up like in terms of not really giving yourself a choice to fail. Like if you don't have anything else to fall back on. And I think, Harrison, the point that you're talking about in terms of the ambition and being happy with where you are now and what you've achieved. It's funny because like all three of you boys, like I know you quite well, is we all want to push all the time, and I think that's sort of how we've got ourselves into some of the positions that we've got into. But I think as I get older now, it's like learning to appreciate like where you are and not always having to push to the next thing. And I think that's naturally when you start a family and you get a wife, it's like appreciating those little things at home more than anything. Like I would prioritize being able to get home and see Zeke and Jess before bedtime and be able to, similar to you, I remember you always rushing off to bath time for the last hour at peak. And like I fully understand that now, you know what I mean? Rather than trying to fit in an extra client or two. Like I'm not going to remember that in 10 years time, that extra few $100, like it's going to mean nothing. But yeah, I think being happy with what you have now, but still always having that urge to push. Like I think it's natural if you're driven like that, but being happy with what you got and appreciating that as well.
A good quote I use is be where your feet are. Like we're always looking, I think society's built us that way, to always look for the next thing or the next shiny object. And something I always speak about is, you turn 18, you get a car, and you're like, fuck, how good's this? I got my license, I'm on the road. And then you see the next shiny thing. You get that, and you're happier. And you think you're going to be happier with these extra things that you have, but you're not usually. And that's why the importance of building a family, and me and Izzy were very similar, and that's what we wanted. And I think now that just using that quote, be where your feet are, it keeps me stationary, it keeps me grounded, always looking to improve systems and improve relationships and improve networks, but never sacrificing what that would mean. Yeah, I think that just speaks true to I guess we're all in a similar position in terms of like we all have the creative minds, or we all want to try and create. I hope that answers a little bit different for you, but it is a really tricky question, and it's a balance between ambition and trying to balance out everything else that you've got going on.
I knew I'd get some good answers from you. That's why I wanted to ask. Obviously, yeah, similar to you guys, always have that sort of drive, and probably something I haven't recognized properly is like I do have that entrepreneurial itch, and while I haven't gone down the run my own business path yet, it's always in the back of my mind. But it's why this job at the Dogs has been really, really good for me, because what it's allowed, and in this sort of new business space, is to try and test things and what can you build? I took over the education space, and it was barely scratching its own face in terms of from a revenue perspective. And we've turned it over into something that's continually growing every year. I think by the end of this year, we'll have run sort of 14 programs. The other thing that I've taken over is the development of the junior academy, which has been a new challenge this year, and it's been an absolute steep learning curve, that's for sure. Just from an operational point of view, how to manage 250 kids, 30 staff members. And then from a revenue point of view, but as well there's a win there to be had. But that's why it's been really good. Get to learn on the fly. My role is so diverse. Like every day, there's a strong sales and business development component. I've never really been a sales guy. Like I've done a few sales roles and never really felt like I'm that good at them.
Just to interrupt you, Haz, what skills did you find transferring from S&C? Because you obviously just transferred talking about those skills across to sales and stuff. What skills did you feel like you built from doing that stuff going into there?
We're just taking a quick breather to hear from our other broadcast partner, Lumin Sports. Every strength coach has got one, but is it the right one? We're of course talking about S&C programming software. It's so important as it's basically an extension of you as a coach. Lumin Strength is the strength program of choice for coaches, including us here at Peak. Is it time that you made the switch? Head to luminsports.com. Back to the podcast.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think early days it was funny. I came in, everyone around the business was like, oh, this guy thinks a bit differently about things. And it was probably just more the S&C guys. And even when I'm trying to build out programs and the websites and stuff around what they are, it's you got to be pretty direct to S&C coaches when you're talking to them. Everyone likes everything in a system and a structure, and whereas I suppose sometimes in that corporate business space there is people like that, but a lot of people are a little bit more artsy in the way that they go about things. They don't really know how they do things. So there's been that, but then I suppose the biggest thing has just been working with people and the coaching element. And coaching was something that's probably the big thing that I miss around my old roles in strength and conditioning, is actually working directly with people to help them get better. And the variety of people that you work with has really sort of helped, I suppose, just you can transfer those skills, those soft skills, into whether it's sales or it's just stakeholder management and you're dealing with different people. That's probably been the biggest one. And I think that always holds you in good stead. I think the other thing as well is probably, and I talk about this sales aspect that I don't feel like I'm that good at, what I probably lean on a lot is the product, and let the product sell itself effectively. And that was effectively what you are the product as an S&C coach. What you produce is the product. So you've got to have an obsession with making that better. And so I've sort of taken that approach and into the courses we're creating and the events we create, and the academy, and how can we create the product and make it the best thing possible that effectively, I don't need a slimy sales pitch. I can just show you that it's fucking good. And that's probably the main thing.
I think it's one of those things where you have to really believe in the product.
Yeah.
And and you're right, it just sells itself. Otherwise, it comes across as unauthentic in certain ways, which will be a difficult part of a lot of sales. And I think whenever I'm taking for people the tours of the gym, I literally just do that. I'll take them in the gym and I'll just show them what's going on. And I literally say to them, I'm sorry, I'm not a fucking salesperson, but here's what it is. And they love it for that. So that's fantastic. Obviously we've got the Western Bulldogs Athletic Summit on, correct me if I'm wrong, September 4th?
September 4th.
Bang on. Are you boys going?
I will be going, yeah.
Absolutely, every year.
Yeah.
Have you guys got tickets?
It's a great
tickets
product.
out?
Tickets are out next week.
Early bird.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that pre-sale.
Early bird, yeah.
Let's
so
go.
Yeah,
Let's
cool.
go.
So I'll obviously be there.
When's the name drops, Haz?
Yeah, anything you can bring to fruition now?
When's this get released?
Probably next week, Michael.
I'm happy to share with you boys and whoever listens. But so we will again fly in an international this year. We got Jonas Dodu, speed and multi-directional, linear, bit of return to play stuff. He'll talk through his sort of philosophies on movement analysis and coach's eye and everything like that. Excitingly, we're actually working with him on a second day in a practical workshop for the Saturday, which will run sort of from 9 till 3 on the Saturday, which will be really cool. In and around that, we've got Nathan Keeley from the Newcastle Knights to sort of support Jonas in that speed stuff, a bit more gym transfer. So what can they do around coordination, stiffness, a bit of Bosch influence, and how we can transfer that onto field. And then there's a big rehab pillar. So Ebony Rio in terms of all her tendinopathy stuff, and then Tim McGrath in and around ACL and return to sport and what sort of determines readiness from an ACL perspective. And then lastly, I've actually just blanked on one. I did this earlier.
What a lineup,
fine.
man.
So
that's a good lineup. Damn.
So I'll get us an apartment for the night before, and we'll do the Friday into the Saturday. That sounds good. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I think having the Friday and then following up with the Saturday practical. Will the Saturday be all day, or will there be a time constraint on that?
It'll be sort of like 9 till 3 p.m. I'd say, so sort of like a 5 hours. I think if you're coming off a big day the day before, probably doesn't need to be as long. We'll try and punch it in, but make sure it's really practical and applied, and it should be good fun. I remember the last one, the new pillar. So I suppose the last couple of years it's been in and around performance, strength and conditioning, nuts and bolts, and a little bit of rehab. But this year we're sort of introducing a bit more sports science, innovation, obviously tech, the age of AI. Everything's moving that way, and this industry is no different. So we're bringing in Ben Simpson from Paris Saint-Germain, who was the high performance manager. He's now the director of special projects and innovation there. So that should be pretty cool too.
You don't have a camping convention you need to go to or something? Or?
Last. I lost my train of thought now. How is the day going to look in terms of partners? So I know you guys had Valve there last year, Standard. Lumin was there last year. How's the day going to look? So I remember that I spoke to you last time. My first question is, how are you going to cater for the growth of population for the event? I mean, I think we spoke last time, you were talking about potentially different rooms. The second thing is there any additional partners, more or less like as a conference sort of point of view, where people are going to be able to sort of walk around and speak to different brands?
Yeah, this like last year, we'll have some partners involved, and you're right. There's every year, we send out a feedback form, and it's like, how can we make this more practical? How can we get, it's just hard with 200 plus people in the room, and if that goes above and beyond, the room's capacity is only about 220. We can squeeze 250 in there, but the product starts to get diminished after that point. So hence why we've sort of gone to that second day, and just keep the Friday conference as it is. Like, we'll try and improve it from last year, but it's going to be it's a winning product already. So let's keep that, really nut down that, make it what it is, have the sponsors on board, have the speakers, international, local talent, and then have the practical day for those that really want to dive into it on that second day. So that's sort of how we've tackled that. There will be obviously some partners involved, but that's probably, Lumin will be back. They do great stuff. They're a great bunch of guys as well. And then we've got some others. So Pitch Ready, who's Tim McGrath's business as well, will jump on board. And then talking through with the other businesses around what their involvement is. So we'll keep that on the down low until everything's sort of locked in. But there'll be plenty there for sure.
Super exciting. Looking forward to getting down. So I was going to go with some rapid fire questions that we're going to send through. I'm actually not going to do that today. Michael, how long have we been going for? Okay, we're going to go through the rapid fire. So we had some sent through from the team, which it seems to be a part of all the podcasts we do. We sort of get some questions sent in, and then we just answer them as we sort of need to. Obviously, industry appropriate. The first one is, should internships be paid or unpaid?
It depends. No, I think
he's from corporate now.
They
get paid for internships, right?
Ultimately, mate, I think it depends. It's a value exchange, right? I remember talking about this, years ago, but I think if you're young in your career, like what's going to be most value to you is experience and knowledge. If we can give that to you as an intern, you give us back some time, labor, whatever that is, that's going to provide value back to the business, then I don't really see the need to pay interns. But on the flip side of that, it's not just a free labor abuse. Like you can't just bring a bunch of uni students in, or even what I hate seeing is that sort of these roles that are jobs. They're full-time jobs, and they're paid $20,000 a year or less in some point, and they're required to have a master's degree in exercise science or high performance sport or whatever it is. But then you're not giving them anything back, right? Yeah. So that's where I lie with it.
Yeah. I think Tom, I presented at Deakin University probably only about a month or two ago on pathways, and it was a topic that did come up, and you're right, it's definitely a labour abuse thing, and I think you got to be really careful. I mean, you don't want to be sending interns out to clubs and teams by themselves to figure that out just for the business to benefit and profit, so it is a really fine line.
Yeah, I think to bounce off Hass's idea, obviously, like as a small business, right? Unfortunately, like a lot of small businesses, and you probably understand as well, like there's not that many funds to be handing out to students, right? Like it's already hard enough to hire your classes and staff the facility as is. And so the reality is, like, if small businesses were expected to pay all of their students for the opportunities, then the opportunities just aren't there. And so I guess, like, from our end, right, like we still want to provide as much value as possible. So again, we don't want to be giving, or we don't want to force labor on all these unpaid students. So it's been important for me to sit down, create really good modules, education, and actually spend the time to invest in the students as well. They're obviously giving their time, and they're putting a lot of good work and helping our product by helping coach on floor and whatnot. So it's a two-way street. We'll make sure that we provide value in terms of creating good modules, education, stuff outside of just the on-floor coaching, right? So not just doing a free job, but also, again, the opportunities aren't there if we have to pay, unfortunately, which is, it's sad, but it is what it is. And so we have to provide the value as best as we can.
That's a really good point. And I think we put out a job not too long ago. And we have always been of the thought of hiring through the internship. And it's great to see that pathway is creating jobs in the industry, which is fantastic. But it gets them, you give them the opportunity to get ready during the 20 weeks. Then they just mold straight into the role of a coach in our system. But we had to go through the process of getting applicants, and we were probably always going to hire internally through the internship, but again, going through that process. But it's just the use of even the technology that is few and far between. Can you successfully and consistently use the Valtech? Do you know how to program? What's our system? And then that's what the value that we find through our internship. It gets us ready for what they're going to get, obviously, with us, because we are of the thought of when we're hiring for the internship, we want to give them a job. So we will generally only hire sort of people that we think are going to impact the industry and give opportunity that way. Izzy, do you have any thoughts?
Just to keep it rapid fire still, agreeing with Haz in terms of what he mentioned before. As a S&C, you are the product, so investing in yourself in terms of whether that's time, money in PDs is, I think, essential to progress in this industry, especially if you're young and you have that time. Do the dirty work. I do think, also touching on Haz's point, it does get abused by some of these roles that people are offering where it is essentially a job and people are getting underpaid. But I think essentially as a young S&C, you got to do the work.
Fantastic. We'll move on to the next question. So we've just got 3 of these, so 2 to go. This one was brought up by myself, and a little bit selfishly, just trying to find advice for where I'm at in life. When do you stop playing sport? So when do you actually concede and coming to terms with not playing competitive sport anymore? Obviously, the role of a coach is very demanding at the times where sport is generally trained and played. So obviously, I'm struggling with that at the moment. I know, Tom, you've stopped playing sport. Harrison, I thought you'd stop playing sport. And Izzy, you're not quite there yet. So I just want to touch on what you boys, how you boys feel and how you boys combated that.
Leave the game before it leaves you. No, go ahead.
Oh, mate.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, as you touched on, sort of, I suppose I'm just playing very recreationally now. Like, I think I'll play on Saturday, and this will be my third game this year. Played one up with my brother up in Hay, and then back down, filled in some numbers down at Mount Eliza. But I suppose and maybe coming back to this ambition point, it's like, for me, it's now just something that I don't really care if I'm getting better at, or if I'm not getting better at, and I'm enjoying it a lot more. Working in Footscray, I've been playing sport in Mount Eliza. It was getting way too hard anyway, getting back there. So that's why I pulled the pin, really, because it was just too hard driving down 3 times a week in peak hour traffic. But I think in terms of what people should do, like, if you enjoy it, keep doing it. If you start to lose the love for it, then maybe it's time to stop and put your eggs in other baskets.
I think it sort of stems from, it's an expectation of something I've always done. And that's what I'm really battling with.
It's an identity piece.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know how I'd feel just playing recreationally. Like, not striving to get better and improve is something that I'm battling with internally. How did you go with that?
Yeah, it was a transition. It's probably a good, like, definitely last year, maybe even 2 years, where the time investment that you're putting into it isn't there, and therefore you're slipping. Like, your performance is slipping and your consistency is slipping. So
Your expectations have to drop.
they have to. To begin with, like, that kind of hurts. It stings. And you've just got to get used to that, and probably accept that while your focus areas are in other areas of life and you're going well there, we'll take those wins and then just enjoy the fact that you get to play sport, and, you know, your body's still being able to perform. That's one thing about S&C, and starting in S&C is just, like, you respect your body and what it can do and how to keep it doing its best thing. So, yeah.
So you...
Yeah.
All right, Tom.
I got to go catch a flight. Boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. What was that? That was wild.
Enjoy Europe, bro.
I will see you guys on the other side, but absolute pleasure. Round 2 show. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We'll get it back.
Thanks for coming on, Tom. Oh, you guys are waiting for Tom.
Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
was
what
like,
we're here for. Yeah.
oh, of course. Hey, enjoy. I'll see you guys soon.
See you, Tommy.
Take
See you
care.
Safe
Enjoy. See ya.
See you guys.
Off to Europe. Must be good.
We're not releasing the Tom parts anymore.
Izzy, how do you, diving straight back in, how do you feel about where you're at with, because my whole thing is that it virtually becomes very difficult to progress professionally if you are still trying to push the needle in playing sport. So that's why I'm trying to bring myself back to maybe your sort of thought process. Can I go back recreationally and just go for the love of the game? That's something I'm really battling with. But Izzy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think in terms of the sport thing, in our industry as S&C, it's hard because it obviously clashes with the times after work when people want to see us and we have to do our job. So I don't think it's a be all and end all or all eggs in one basket. I think there's a balance. And I found myself doing that a few years ago, where you're probably not pushing to quite the level that you might want to in terms of playing your sport, but maybe playing at a lower level where you can manage it a bit better, whether that's training a couple times a week and playing on the weekend, rather than really pushing for that high level sport, which naturally in our industry you might want to do, because that's a lot of the reason why we got into this industry in the first place. So it is hard to manage, but I think you can make it work, as long as you're flexible. And it comes back to the point too, whether you want to keep pushing in this industry as well, whether you're happy being sort of where you're at, or if you really want to go all in and really progress. It's just making that decision for yourself, sort of thing. So
Prioritization is going to be one of the biggest skills to develop.
yeah,
If you can't prioritize, you just end up...
something's got to give. There's going to be some sort of sacrifice somewhere. Yeah. You just got to choose where it is for you. You know what I mean? I don't think it's the same answer for everyone.
No, exactly.
So yeah.
Thanks, boys. That helps me out a little bit. My last question goes back towards the more performance rehab model. So obviously what we're seeing in the industry grow, especially in the private sector over the last, I'm probably going to say 3 to 5 years, is the injury rehab model integrated into S&C environments. My question is, this question stems from, we've been running PDs at our facility, and a lot of the people that are coming in are clinicians, practitioners, physiotherapists, anyone involved in allied health that are fascinated by the model. Do you think it could go the other way? So my first question is, do you think it go the other way in terms of, can we see S&C integrated into standalone, already established allied health facilities? And do you think it can work?
I think it already is going that way, and I think it has been for the last few years. Just because we can see, for example, at Peak, they feed each other. So you see, if you're dealing with S&C, people are getting injured, and they want a better level of care in terms of rehab. And I think people are seeing now, with the level of service, especially in Melbourne, like you see multiple facilities doing it now, people want better service in terms of rehab now. So I think they're looking for facilities like that do both. And I think the traditional, like we've talked about before, the traditional allied health model doesn't really get athletes close enough back to playing their sport where they're not getting injured again, and back to performing at their best again. So I think people are picking up on that, both the clients and people running the businesses, and I think it's slowly going that way. Whether it's the allied health clinics starting to try and integrate S&C, which that's happening a little bit slower, but a lot of these S&C facilities now, pretty much all of them are getting physios in.
That's where my question was. Do you think that we are going to see clinics hire S&Cs to go the other way? So you know how we're S&C facilities that would integrate the rehab model. Do you think it'll go the opposite way in terms of clinics hiring S&C coaches?
I think it's a hard thing, because I think in terms of allied health and physios, they, not to talk badly on physios, but they often think they can do everything already, which I don't think is the case. Coming from someone who started with S&C, I think physios think they can already do a good job of S&C. So I think that's why it's developing a lot slower, which we know is not actually the case if they don't have those skills. And it's the other way around. I think S&Cs probably respect physios more in terms of they get put on a pedestal a little bit. And we automatically think that they know more than us in terms of the strength and conditioning side of things, which isn't true at all. So I think it's probably from that cultural point of view where they probably don't respect what S&C can do enough. But I think it's starting to change. It takes a little bit of time, but I think when that does happen, you will see that more.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. I got in trouble for an ad that I ran for our return to play unit, and I said something like, "Let's be honest, 3x10 glute bridges isn't going to return anyone to sport." Equally, a triple hop for distance, you're not going to do that for a Achilles tendinopathy. Just taking a little pot at each one, because they both have their holes and they both have their strengths. And I think you are right in, like, often it can feel like one thinks that they're a little bit more superior to the other. But the nuance in strength and conditioning and the depth that you can go into is far beyond what most people actually understand and expect, really. And maybe that's just a piece on, maybe there's an education piece that the general S&C industry need to get out and sort of bring the industry up themselves. But I think from a physio is going to integrate S&C, I think one barrier is going to be space. Clinics often don't have the space for it, whereas gyms start big and they can then build a room. So it's a little bit easier from that point of view. And I also think what I'm seeing anyway in that space is that physios, osteos, allied health, they're recognizing that to take their clientele through the full process, to be able to offer their clients that sort of full rehab model, they need to learn. And so that they're actually doing a lot of the learning. Like, we're getting a lot of sort of physios, osteos, allied health people doing the strength and conditioning courses that we run. And so you see it sort of happening that way as well.
Yeah. So rather than actually adding another resource or trying to source another resource into an established clinic, you're saying that the physios are just going to become more well equipped, similar to Max Ray. Like, Max is a great physio, but a really good S&C coach. Is that what you're sort of saying?
And Taylor as well, to be fair.
And
yeah,
most definitely Taylor Lee. Yeah, definitely.
In terms of
she's come leaps and bounds. That's a topic for another day. But most definitely, what we're seeing in our space is our physios, Max and Taylor, they were great clinicians first, and then have significantly added value to their own practice and their own systems and values by becoming more equipped with S&C knowledge.
I'm going to get in trouble here again, but I think it's easier for a physio to be able to do that just because of the
pre-existing knowledge.
No, I think it's more like the scope of practice and so for a physio who's done their bachelor's degree, master's, whatever they've done, they're a qualified physio. Then all of a sudden, all they have to do to become an S&C is do a 2-day course at ASCA, and like ASCA do great stuff, but like if a S&C who's also done a 3 or 4 year degree wants to treat injuries, they're going to have to go do a master's. So like there's just an imbalance there, which I think probably doesn't help. Yeah.
I think getting back to it's a great answer, boys. I think getting back to the ultimate question, do we think it'll go the other way in terms of clinics hiring S&Cs? I don't think it will. I just think like you're definitely right in terms of space, but I think, finding resources and good S&Cs might dilute the industry a little bit. But you bang on with space and just being able to, I guess, invest in creating that, as opposed to traditionally gyms have the bigger space for the bigger gym floor area, and then just adding a room on the side is a little bit easier. Boys, we're going to wrap it up there. Fantastic it's a shame that Tom had to leave early, but that's actually pretty funny. I actually didn't know. As soon as those other people walked in, I'm like, oh, Michael must have another appointment. We're going to wrap things up a little bit. Boys, I just wanted to really touch on, we wouldn't exist to where we are today if it wasn't for you guys pushing myself and us into the direction we are going in. And it is extremely humbling, and I'm very honored to play a part in your development, obviously now in your own sort of business ventures and in the corporate world with the scratch, to want to use that entrepreneurial prowess, for lack of a better term. But I'm really looking forward to seeing where you guys go next. Obviously, we still keep in contact quite regularly. So keep grinding, keep hustling, and yeah, looking forward to catching up next time.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for tuning in to the Coach's Corner podcast, brought to you by our broadcast partners, Iron Edge and Lumin Sports. Please share around on your social platforms, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you next time.